Jun Lin was born on December 30th, 1978, in Wuhan, China. He grew up in a country where getting into a good university abroad was not just an achievement, it was everything. It was the dream that entire families pinned their hopes on, quietly, over dinner tables, for years. And Jun did it. He got there. By 2011, he had moved to Montreal, Canada, and enrolled at Concordia University as a computer science student. Jun Lin apparently thrived. His friends described him as warm, social, genuinely likable. He had a sense of humor. He was the kind of person who could walk into a room and make it feel less tense. He was building a life. He had a job. He had an apartment. He was figuring it out, the way immigrants always figure it out, one hard day at a time. He had recently come out of a relationship. He was using apps, meeting people, doing what a young single guy in a big city does. He was, by every measure, just a normal person, trying to be happy.
And then, on the evening of May 24th, 2012, he walked into an apartment building on Décarie Boulevard in Montreal. He never walked out. Here is where it gets strange, in a way that no true crime podcast really prepares you for. Police later recovered surveillance footage from that apartment building, and what it shows is Jun Lin arriving on the night of May 24th, alongside a man. They walk in together. They look relaxed. There is nothing visually alarming about the footage. It looks like two people who know each other, heading upstairs. Jun Lin is never seen on camera again after that moment. Not leaving, not coming back, not on any camera, anywhere. Just gone.
Now, here is the part that investigators would later say kept them up at night. Police went through more than 7,000 photographs, combed through cell phone records, searched email accounts and dating app histories, and they still could not definitively establish how Jun Lin and this man first met. 7,000 photos, and they still do not know exactly how it started. What Magnotta himself claimed, years later, was that Jun Lin had responded to a Craigslist ad, an ad proposing sex and bondage. And that is a detail that sits uncomfortably, because it tells you how easy it is for predators to fish in the open water of the internet, with no one watching. But let us hold on that for a second, because his story is one of the most disturbing examples of what happens when warning signs get ignored on an industrial scale.
Luka Rocco Magnotta. That was the name he had given himself. He was born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman in Scarborough, Toronto, on July 24, 1982. His childhood was not good. His mother was reportedly obsessive and difficult. His father was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1994, and after his parents split, Magnotta moved in with his grandmother. He struggled in school. He struggled to make friends. By his teens, he had already started showing signs of mental illness himself. He was later diagnosed with schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, and histrionic personality disorder. Now, I want to be careful here, because this is the part where a lot of documentaries start edging toward a kind of explanation that feels like an excuse. Troubled childhood, mental illness, broken family. And none of that explains what he did. None of it excuses it. What it does do, though, is help us understand why he was the way he was, which is different.
Magnotta wanted to be famous, desperately, pathologically famous. He made fake Wikipedia pages about himself. He created online personas to hype himself up. He tried modeling. He tried adult film work. Nothing stuck. Nobody cared. And the invisibility of it seemed to consume him. Then, sometime around 2010, he started doing something that should have landed him in a prison cell immediately. He started filming himself killing kittens. I am not going to describe the videos in detail, but they existed, they were uploaded online, and animal rights organizations around the world saw them and started screaming at police to find this man and arrest him. Groups in the UK, the US, Canada, multiple countries were sending tips, filing reports, begging law enforcement to act. The Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals investigated. The FBI was contacted. Montreal police were contacted.
And nothing happened. Magnotta was never charged for those videos. He walked free. And here is the thing that criminologists have noted ever since. The pattern of escalation from animal cruelty to human violence is one of the most well-documented warning trajectories in all of forensic psychology. It is not a theory. It is a documented pattern. And it was ignored. By early 2012, Magnotta had reportedly sought psychiatric help just days before the murder and was turned away or failed to follow through. The exact details remain murky, but what we know is that nothing stopped what was coming. Right, so May 24, 2012.
Jun Lin's friends got a text message from his phone at around 9 in the evening. His boss noted he did not show up for his shift the next day. His friends went to check on him on May 27th. He was not there. They reported him missing to police on May 29th. That same morning, May 29th, a package arrived at the main offices of the Conservative Party of Canada in Ottawa. Inside was a human foot, a left foot. Another package, addressed to the Liberal Party, was intercepted at a Canada Post processing facility. Inside was a hand. That same day, a janitor at an apartment building in Montreal's Snowden neighborhood found a decomposing human torso inside a suitcase in the alley behind the building. That building was the one Magnotta had been renting from for 4 months. His rent was paid up to June 1st. He had already left.
Police searched his apartment that night. What they found inside has been described by investigators as looking like a scene from something that should not be real. Blood on the mattress, blood on the refrigerator, blood on the table, blood in the bathtub, and written in red ink on the inside of a closet door, this: "If you don't like the reflection, don't look in the mirror. I don't care." He had already gone. And then things got worse. Before the police even publicly named a suspect, a video had already been uploaded to a gore website called bestgore.com. The title was "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick." It was 11 minutes long. I am not going to describe what is in it beyond the basics, because this is not that kind of documentary, and frankly, I think dwelling on the details of the footage does exactly what Magnotta wanted. It gives him the audience he murdered someone to get.
What the video showed was Magnotta killing Jun Lin and then mutilating his body, deliberately, with the camera positioned to capture it. He had planned this. The video was not an accident of documentation. It was the product. He wanted it to exist. He wanted people to watch it. The note found with one of the packages sent to the political parties stated plainly that 6 body parts had been distributed and that the perpetrator would kill again. On June 5th, a package arrived at St. George's School in Vancouver. A right foot was inside. Another package, containing a right hand, was sent to False Creek Elementary School, also in Vancouver. He mailed body parts to elementary schools, and then he got on a plane.
By May 30th, Montreal police had named Magnotta as the prime suspect. By the same day, Interpol had added him to its international wanted list. A red notice, for those who do not know, is essentially the closest thing to an international arrest warrant that Interpol can issue. It signals to police forces around the world that they are looking for this person and they want him brought in. Magnotta had flown to Paris. Then he boarded a bus to Berlin. And here is a detail that is so absurd it almost reads like fiction. He was found in Berlin on June 4th, less than 2 weeks after the murder, sitting inside an internet cafe. He was reading news articles about himself. He was reading about his own manhunt on a public computer in a cafe.
A cafe worker recognized him from the news coverage, called police, and Magnotta was arrested at the scene without significant resistance. He was extradited back to Canada on June 18th, arriving on a Royal Canadian Air Force plane to a country that had been horrified by what he had done. The trial began on September 29, 2014, and this is where it gets philosophically uncomfortable in a way I genuinely want you to sit with. Magnotta admitted to the physical acts. He did not deny being there, being the one who did what the video showed. What his defense argued was that he was not criminally responsible because at the time of the killing, he was suffering from a schizophrenic episode so severe that he could not understand the moral nature of what he was doing.
Think about what that defense is actually asking. It is asking 12 jurors to look at a man who planned a murder, who filmed it, who edited the footage apparently, who packaged up body parts and mailed them to specific political targets and to children's schools, and conclude that all of that planning and deliberate staging happened while the person doing it had no comprehension of what he was doing.
The prosecution spent considerable time walking through exactly how meticulous the planning was, the packages, the addresses, the note explaining how many parts had been distributed, the timing of the escape. And then Magnotta chose not to testify in his own defense. His lawyers argued that testifying could help the jury see the extent of his delusions. He did not take the stand.
During the trial, observers noted something striking about Magnotta's appearance. The man who had obsessively groomed his public image, who had created personas online, who had tried desperately to look like a model, sat in court barely recognizable. He had gained significant weight. He wore glasses. He was often described as almost catatonic, hunched so low in his seat that he was barely visible to people in the room. Jun Lin's father, Jun Lin, was present throughout the trial. He had traveled from China to watch. He sat through the testimony. He sat through the evidence. He watched the surveillance footage of the last images of his son alive, walking into that building, not knowing what was waiting for him. After 8 days of jury deliberations, the verdict came back on December 23, 2014. Guilty. First-degree murder. Guilty on all 5 charges.
First-degree murder in Canadian law means the jury found it was premeditated, planned, not a moment of psychosis, but a deliberate act by someone who knew what they were doing and chose to do it anyway. Jun Lin issued a family statement. He said he had come to Montreal to see the justice system work. He said he was leaving satisfied that his son had not been forgotten. And then he said something that has stuck with me since the first time I read it. He said he had come hoping to hear some form of apology, some remorse, something, and he was leaving without anything. Nothing. Not a word. Magnotta is currently serving a life sentence. Under Canadian law, he will not be eligible for parole for 25 years. He has since, reportedly, married another inmate. He withdrew his appeal of the conviction in 2015. He got what he wanted, in a perverse and tragic way. His name is known around the world. There is a Netflix documentary about the people who tried to track him down before police acted. His case is discussed in forensic psychology classes. He is famous. Jun Lin's family put out a statement after the verdict. They described his death as a destructive blow that left them physically and psychologically spent. They said it had a tremendous impact, not just on them, but on their entire community. Jun Lin was 33 years old when he died. He had been living in Montreal for roughly a year. He had been building something, a life in a new country, from scratch, with nothing but his education and his willingness to try. He should have had decades ahead of him.
And I keep coming back to this, to the surveillance footage. 2 people walking into a building together, one of them knowing what the other does not, one of them already planning the end of the story, and the camera just recording it, the way cameras record everything, indifferently, without understanding what it is seeing. Here is what bothers me the most about this case, and I have thought about it a lot. Magnotta was known. Before Jun Lin died, he was already known. Animal rights organizations in multiple countries had already identified him. They had already linked him to video evidence of animal cruelty. They had already submitted formal reports to law enforcement on multiple continents. The FBI was notified. Canadian police were notified. The RSPCA in the UK was involved. None of it resulted in an arrest. Not one.
Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you that if the police had arrested Magnotta for killing kittens, Jun Lin would definitely be alive today. I do not know that. Maybe Magnotta would have found another way. Maybe the timeline would have shifted and still ended the same way. But here is what I do know. The criminological literature on escalating violence is not obscure. It is not controversial. The connection between animal cruelty and future violence toward humans is documented extensively. It is taught. It is studied. It is the reason many jurisdictions have strengthened animal cruelty laws, specifically because prosecutors and psychologists fought to make the legal system understand the stakes. And in this case, the dots were there. The organizations connecting them were screaming, and the system did not respond.
Jun Lin's death was not random bad luck. It was the endpoint of a very long line of warnings that went unanswered. I am going to end this the same way I started. Not with the killer, with Jun. D30, 1978. Born in Wuhan. Grew up dreaming of something bigger. Made it to Montreal. Made friends. Had a laugh. Tried to build a life in a city that, by all accounts, he genuinely loved. He came from a country where hard work was the only currency that mattered, and he spent it all trying to become something. A graduate, a professional, a person with a future. He deserved that future.
What happened to him was not just a crime. It was a system failure. It was the internet's dark underside at full exposure. It was a predator who was handed multiple chances to be stopped and was not stopped. And it was one man, alone, who walked into the wrong apartment on the wrong night, not knowing that the clock had already run out. Jun Lin, computer science student. Son. Friend. That is who this story is about. And it always should have been. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. If you want more deep dive true crime stories told with detail and respect, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.